Hello, everybody. Welcome back to NLC Division 2. We're jumping immediately into our third game of the day. The breaks don't stop on this train, except before game number 2, where they did for
About 30
quite a few minutes, which is why the train don't stop now, because we've already stopped before. But this matchup is actually pretty important because Nativz, they need to pick up a win to stay within striking distance of their opposition Monster Rugby Gaming, who just won our last matchup. London United have an opportunity to drag themselves above AAB, who also lost earlier in the evening. But taking down Nativz is no small task. We're directly into Champ Select.
Yeah, exactly. So here we are, as you highlighted, right? For London United, they need this win to stay out of the bottom two. Nativz, they need to stay in range to maybe leapfrog Munster, the only team, if I recall correctly, that has beaten Munster in the league at the moment. So holding that one over the Irish organisation in terms of the head-to-head for now. Rengar moved away from Icy Gale, no surprise. I have been absent. Has anybody not banned Icy Gales, Rengar?
I don't
Has it
think
just
it's
remained-
been let through. But notably, producer, I want to get confirmation on this. We've got Yoichi in the mid lane for London United. It has been Mortifer
really?
for the past couple of weeks. It was Kusei before that.
Yeah.
Is this a rename or is this a new player? As we run
Yeah,
through the bans. If producer, can we
yeah.
just get a word on that? That would be amazing. But Varus, Karma, Zeri, Gwen, and Rengar, a lot of power is going to be let through this draft because there's been so many target bans.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Junglers, ADs, you name it. It looks like it's going to be in this game. The only two super meta picks at the moment that have been removed away: Zeri, Gwen, Karma, if you want to classify her as that. And of course, now the Twisted Fate gets banned away. And Jinx, first pick for KZ. Like we said, Jinx still very high in priority in terms of what gets first picked quite frequently. And now Nativz, plenty of options. Would be very Joppa and Clocks like to run something like Samira into the Jinx as a full-blown kill lane. We'll get to see what the bottom side of Nativz does lock in. Them in the early weeks, I was very, very impressed with a lot of the drafts that we did get to see out of the likes of Nativz. Very creative drafts, very utility heavy drafts with things that would include picks like Snillay's Karthus, which blind would definitely be audacious. I would expect maybe something a little more traditional out of the jungle role for now. You could also go down the mid lane route if you're feeling like you really want to hold on to your R3 pick. Of course, naturally, you could just go for the Aphelios right here, hide your cards, and then go for that R3. But of course, priority for a jungler would just make the most sense, and Snillay will go towards that Zinzal.
Yeah, very strong pickup. And Yoichi is a sub, so we're going to see a new player coming in. Third mid lane of the split, I believe, for London United. So excited to see what he can do up against Ryle. A very massive matchup in this game. Potentially, we'll have to see where the priority lies and what kind of pickups they can grab. But Dunlossie going to be going for that Trundle, something that we've seen from him before. And it's an alright matchup into these Zinzal, gives a decent amount of utility as well. Question being, do you want to go for something like the Lulu to give yourself that appeal or that Uncharted support, or are we going to look at something a little bit different from London United? Maybe a mid laner rather than their support.
Yeah, I wouldn't even mind seeing a mid laner here. You could really go down plenty of options, but Divinus loves his Norless, and we will see that into the Thresh yet again. And I expect this to, well, if it was another team, probably be the Aphelios for Joppa, but we could see something else come out just because Nativz doesn't typically draft very orthodox. But I think when you're looking at R3 and the fact that you could lose to other high tier AD carries, Nativz will just pick their AD carry of choice, which just makes the most sense to be that Aphelios spot. Like I said, could be anything else. You never know with Nativz. They will eventually give us that confirmation. And now bans, this is where things get a little bit tricky. It depends really on what picks they want to remove away in terms of targeted, right? Especially when you're talking about somebody like Icy Gale. The split pushers could very easily be removed here, especially the blind pick ones like the Graves at the moment. Camille could be off the table as well. Fiora, if you're really feeling it, but that's another thing for likes of also Arcane Teddy, who was highlighted by Valkyrie. We get to see him later on today as Veigar will be moved away.
Yeah, Dem obviously one of the greatest minds in the game, clearly. Just taking that one off the table. Rise also is going to be removed. It looks like it's going to be all about the mid lane. We could see something like the Victor taken off the table. Of course, Corky not as high priority as he used to be, but is still able to do some work. Whether they want to throw bans in that direction is yet to be seen. Orianna and Syndra are also hanging around the meta right now, so There's plenty to ban away. Obviously, you're not going to be able to hit all of them. It will be the Syndra off the table. I wouldn't be shocked to see Victor being the final one removed if they want to hit all of the meta staples.
Yeah, I do say though. I think if you're looking at Nativz and they might draft a very, very orthodox, Orianna just makes the most sense here. You've removed away so many of her counters, 1-to-1. I think she might be the strongest mage up and available. That's outright blind pickable unless they really want to give Ral that last pick on that R5, give him the counter pick so that you can have a little bit more agency in the 2v2 perhaps. But also, yeah, you did mention the Victor. That's also one that slipped away. But I think Orianna makes a little more sense in this composition. You've got the Xin Zhao that wants to go in. You're denying away the Orianna in terms of being able to disrupt what Aphelios wants to do. And now, if London United want to trade it, they can, of course, pick up the Victor themselves. And they've got about enough frontline to the point where I could say Icy Gale can still very comfortably play a carry up in the top side. Let's see as... Oh, okay. Very interesting. We get the Lux here of Yoichi. We did see this yesterday from JDXL's Eminez. And it was, to say the least, a bit unfair. And like I was saying, in terms of, being able to disrupt the likes of an Aphelios, one thing that the Lux offers a lot of is obviously that range. In terms of right now, looking at the Nativz composition, nobody can match that Lux range at all. There is nobody here that can get in range of Lux if she's chucking those spells at max range. And we do actually end up seeing Icy Gale's Fiora too, which is, of course, always a treat when you get to see it. Blind picked though, so Lundorf has the opportunity to take whatever he wants to into it. And if this will be the Gangplank, it does say a lot of scaling for Nativz. And honestly, this is a lane that I don't feel like the Fiora can really hard bully, especially if the Gangplank's allowed to get to Sheen pretty much uncontested. Lundorf's going to have a relatively free time up there. I think this is all going to be about London United sending that Fiora off onto a side lane and outscaling in the later stages of the game. But even then, saying outscaling, you're looking at a full team fight composition from Nativz, which, if ever they're grouped up in front of an objective, I just don't see London United winning outside of, some crazy Lux combo and sort of crazy wombo to come out from the Jinx. On top of that, a massive rocket to execute a couple of members. So I think I like a lot more what Nativz put together is very traditional. I think on the opposite side, London, there's a couple of more barriers to entry to, making this composition work. Fiora has to get going in this matchup. You've got a Trundle. You can very much abuse a very immobile Gangplank, but it can be a little difficult. And especially if Snilly's up there to cover from time to time, that's all Snilly really needs to do in this game. He doesn't even need to get his lane as a lead. He just needs to ensure that London United themselves don't get leads. And the comp should really drive itself. So a lot of the onus right now on London United, in my eyes, to try and push themselves into a position where they're 2, 3, 4,000 gold up by 15 or 20 minutes so they can actually look to contest things like that Baron in the mid game as comfortably as possible.
And I mean, it's not just a case of, we always say, and we always have to preface this, with these kind of this analysis of going into drafts, yes, there's going to be a really great team fight for Nativz if they get grouped up in front of an objective. It's less good if they're half health when that happens, or if they're 4,000 gold behind when that happens. And when you've got someone like a Lux, you're looking and saying, look, we know that we're going to be 4v5 because Fiora's bot lane trying to take down your bot lane inner or whatever she's doing. We're just going to be staying at arm's reach. We're going to be throwing abilities at you. Taking down Baron's going to suck because your MR is going to be low. And maybe we're going to make life just as difficult as possible for you. And there's no way in hell you're all getting out with that Baron buff. So whether it's a case of... that could also be reversed if Nativz are 2,000, 3,000 gold ahead if we don't see London United get going when we hit the 25-minute mark. Because at that point, it's a case of saying, yeah, you can poke us a little bit. We're going to take the objective. Your Fiora needs to be here because otherwise we're steamrolling your entire team with one fell swoop. And suddenly it becomes very, very difficult to play around the objectives that London United have set themselves. So early game is going to be king. Trundle is going to be Troll King, so it's going to be important in that, because if you can't get your top lane going, or at least making decent gains across the map, we're talking early objectives, Dragon, early Rift Heralds to try and break down some towers and give yourself a good foothold, then I am a little bit worried about London United.
Yeah, just a touch, and it just comes down to the very low execution floor that Nativz have given themselves here into London United. And I think, honestly, a lot of respect. You come into a team that's obviously your mirrored score, 2 and 6. Maybe you say, okay, this should be a freebie, but this draft just says, hey, even though it's likely going to be a game which we can, I'm not going to say easily win, we have to make sure that we pay enough respect from the get-go into London United. Now, Lundorf actually hovering the back end of this tri-brush. Oh, he's walking towards the front part, and London United are going to walk in. He's giving himself enough time, but there could be a flash over the wall. Just goes wide.
We've all seen those hit in the past, so
exactly.
good
And
thing for Lundorf.
I'm not quite sure what held London United up there, because it seemed like they were going to walk into the bush about half a second earlier. And if they did, Lundorf would have been on the closer side of the tri bush just by pure chance. But luck of the dice for Lundorf means that he won't be victim to that level 1. And no information was gained from London United, whereas on the opposite side, at the very least, Nativz got down a ward on that red bush, a red buff rather, and ping actually comes down from London United. They say they know that ward's there. I'm just going to make sure that there is no sneaky shenanigans. They will get a ward on that red buff. Both the junglers starting on the top side, going to leave this top lane on this island. And I actually... So normally I'll know how this lane matchup goes.
Okay.
But what I am curious about is whether or not Icy Gale rushes the Hullbreaker. I think Fiora needs a Mythic or another core iron.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I feel like Fiora wants to get the Hullbreaker second.
Yeah, she doesn't strike me as a Hullbreaker first champion. So I feel like this lane matchup is still gonna go pretty much the same way. But I think what ends up happening, obviously, because I'm speaking as if everybody else knows, it's my job to tell you. Gangplank can win out the lane quite heavily. The early laning phase, what you want to do is you see Lundorf stepping really far back to ensure that the vitals aren't spawning on the front side or easier to access sides of his champion model to Ice Gale. So you see now it's on the back side of his model, and anytime it spawns on the front side or the sort of like, bottom left, right, you will likely see him walk out of range of Fiora and despawn the vital. So like here, for example, this is a free vital for Ice Gale to get. Unfortunately, he just has to sack that. And this kind of a bit of a mini game in its own right. Play for the barrels as well on the Fiora end. But you basically just sit here, get to Sheen. Nice parry from Icy Gale. And then once you hit Sheen, that's when you can effectively just make the Fiora's life a living hell. And she can't actually trade back onto you comfortably anymore.
Ooh, going for him. KZ in a lot of trouble. Going to be taking low, burning out as they move their attention towards the Nautilus. First blood goes over. But they can't find Divinus as well. But the jungler secures that one. Now it's all about Xinzao. What can he do with the lead?
Yeah, exactly. And only positives come out of that from London United's end is the play happens so fast, KZ doesn't even blow over his summoner. So there's obviously a risk that, yes, Snilly can come down to the bottom side and repeat gank it, but it's not going to be a repeat gank on a Jinx with no summoner spells at all. So does have that safety net still available. As top side, seems like Ice Gale's going to take a reset. Lundorf will likely do the same thing. Scuttlecrab was taken by Snilly after that bottom lane play. Like I said, let's see what Snilly can do with this lead. We've seen Xinzao's take over the game before. But again, in a game where there's the only real setup comes from the bottom lane, you expect that he is most likely going to just say, Lundorf, have fun up there. Matchup's not fun. Or is already fun, rather, for you by yourself. And Raul is on the Orianna, not going to really play towards that mid lane until level 6. And there you go. This is the Sheen damage I was talking about. Obviously, Ice Gale himself hasn't also reset yet. But Sheen procs with Grasp, you're looking at 200 plus damage per Q. It just feels really, really bad. This lane, however, is going to push back into Icy Gale, which is going to give, luckily enough, to Ice Gale and Dunlosi potentially a window to gank that lane. However, Dunlosi a little more interested in this chicken camp for now.
To be securing that one and then might scramble towards topside because Snil is already there. Hasn't been spotted out. Will be spotted now, but the riposte has already been used. As Gale slides away. Not the most effective gank I've seen in my life, and will be taking the respectful way out, which makes sense. He's just warding before heading on through because there is vision. So Trundle would have good information on what is occurring, but no real play happens top as Lux just giving a bit of defensive vision before moving back into lane.
Yeah, exactly. Nice from Yuichi. As level 6 will be coming in the next couple of waves for these solo laners. That's where I expect a lot of impact to be had, as Ice Gale had to flash on the top side. Flash for flash, actually. And Dunlosi is here. Snilly is no longer on the top side of the map. If Lundorf steps up, expect Dunlosi would have gone over the wall of that blast cone and tried to make the gank happen, but bottom side play.
Okay, so that's the flash. We'll be able to survive though, and it looks like nothing else is going to be thrown his way. But Nativz can turn their attention towards this Dragon Infernal to start us up this game. And with priority in all the lanes that matter, this one should be for free.
Yeah, exactly. Yoichi used up his mana pool to reset. First reset for him. See what he picks up. Lost chapter. This will be that first tracking, like you said, and this time they get KZ's flash. If they'd managed to blow the flash the first gank, that is a dead as hell Jinx, but like we said, the only good thing about Jinx dying in that first flame means that she'll still have flash. So let's see what happens on the top side. So it's Icy Gale. Looks like he's just going for a commit, misses the riposte, doesn't get the barrel either. It's just a trial by fire reset once or twice. Oh. It's not enough. Wow.
Oh, those bit you with the pot.
Yeah, if I have to guess, obviously the regen there, absolutely crazy when you're that low with Doran Shield, the pot as well. I think Lundorf queued without a Sheen proc available.
Ah.
And that's the difference maker there. If he just waits it out, not sure why it was on cooldown if he queued or like used a different spell. I'd have to take another look at the replay, just off the top of my memory, because I do have quite poor memory from time to time. Icy Gale actually dodging out. Oh, those barrels are too far apart from each other. Yeah. Can't actually see the lines, I don't think.
Not on spectator, no, I don't think so.
It depends on the skin. I'm pretty sure Special Forces has a visible, like, actual particle line that everybody can see. I think the same can be said for FPX and Dreadnova, but I think all the other skins don't. But yes, anyway, away from my GP talk.
It's like a weird bit of Gangplank lore, but... Divinus moving on through, getting the damage and the CC, looking towards Lundorf. Ice Gale throwing the damage. Yoichi misses the snipe, and the ultimate from Lundorf will disengage the play. But there's not that much assistance. Zinzal's the only one moving up, and Trundle is already here. You can see Fresh is coming through, but isn't quite there. Moving back down towards the mid lane as Divinus and Dunlossie will do the same. We got word from our producer just as that fight kicked off. Dior was on 7 health when that fight ended. 7.
Lucky number 7 comes up for Icy Gale. All I can say here. And in situations like this where you have the supports up on the top side, the whole team contesting, that Herald always look at the bot wave in these kind of scenarios, because whichever AD carry has priority, assuming both these teams are kind of teeing off for that Herald, you can always expect the AD to try and move up or look for some farm. In this case, Joppa, maybe the comms is just, yeah, don't move, don't go anywhere. There's no vision in the river. It's not safe for you right now. And of course, there's no contest directly for the Herald. But bottom wave, very, very important when it's just the AD versus AD down there when you get those 4 members towards those Herald like we saw about 60 seconds ago. Nativz, though, eyeing up a play around the mid lane maybe. As Dunlossie walks into Snille.
Yeah, looking for damage. The Nautilus is going to come on through as well. A decent amount. Snille goes low. Will be rooted up and taken down. Dunlossie secures the kill.
Yeah, and that's what the Trundle can do in those kind of situations. Not knocked away by the ultimate either, because Snille, audacious charged onto him. Just absolutely blows him up at that level 6 mark. Especially with the Sheen. It's just so much burst damage, you can't really deal with that. As Icy Gale, at the moment, actually having a pretty decent time of this matchup so far. Herald as well. Lundorf will be fully aware, despite having the vision, that sooner or later we could actually see a play come up towards the top side, as this is where things can get annoying if you don't take control of the top side matchup, as this is between tier 1 and 2, a 2v2 kill.
How's that happened?
Sure, we will get a replay, focusing on the potential of Icy Gale going for some kind of crazy all-in. Drop on clocks, find their own 2v2 kill. And KZ finds himself at 0-2. No flash. They just force the play because they know he's summonerless. Or at the very least, without that mobility spell. And Herald was also picked up by, of course, London United. We'll see how they end up making that work, as KZ doing a good enough job right now of respecting, but as soon as Clocks walks out of this bush, probably flash over. Yeah. Actually, funnily enough, Joppa waited until, or Clocks waited until Joppa got to that lantern to flash, because he felt like it would have dragged him over the chompers. So real nice micro management there, as Herald going to be immediately dropped on the bottom side. Despite KZ being relatively far down, they still want to put resources into the AD carry, but he just took 2 tower shots, so this could make a potential fight quite plausible. Herald, plus that pillar, could dissuade it, however. So plates go over. KZ and Dunlossie walk away with the gold. But I mean, actually, observers, if before we hopefully get action, thank you, reading my mind, still 1,000 gold difference between Joppa and KZ. And across the board, though, it does remain relatively even, only 200, 300 gold in it. The entirety of Nativ's gold lead pretty much lies in the bottom lane.
Which is good news for Aphelios fans out there, because Yopper Clocks, as a duo, have been performing well on this Nativz roster and putting in a shift once again on a team composition that's designed for the team fight. Aphelios is definitely going to thrive in that kind of environment.
Yeah.
That being said, Jinx Nautilus, no slouches when it comes to later game engagements either. But they need to be getting themselves on the board a little bit more, because severe farm down, 2 deaths on the Jinx. It's not optimal.
No, but the issue is though, I should say, you know, Nativz, they have the team fighting comp. They have the team fighting comp, the mid to late game team fighting comp, and they've picked up the first 2 dragons. It's not really a position you want to be in for London United. So whilst, you know, yes, they're even in gold right now, it's actually a little bit worse of a game state than you'd maybe want to be in.
Gale going to get slowed up. I think he's going to have to flash here. Will do just that, as Nativz can't find the kill, but they do get rid of that summoner spell. We'll be happy to just back away.
Yeah, and like you say, it gives up the summoner spell. It shouldn't affect him too much in the immediate future. But London United, you really have to say, if you don't get this next dragon and you're up against the wall of a very early soul, things might look pretty poorly for you, as Joppa...
Ooh, dodged away from the ultimate, but the flash forward will secure the kill, and Joppa's flash, Kaiser's flash even, not going to be able to find his way out of range. So Nativz pick themselves up another kill in the bot lane. They can turn their attention towards maybe trying to siege down this tower some more.
Yeah, and that feels so bad for London United. They're about to invest in the bottom lane dive. And Joppa just solo kills KZ straight up. Nothing more to it. Clock should just play Lantern Duty for this. Joppa without no flash should still be fine. And Nativz, as I was saying just a brief moment before, despite only being 1k up, this feels probably a lot worse for London United in the moment. Yes, you know, even-ish in items once people like Ryland Stille go for their resets and such. But you just think about the game state. You've got a Trundle, and what will Trundle do into Gangplank Oriana Felios in the later stages of the game with no Aftershock target to subjugate? It's gonna feel pretty poor to play out. And again, it feels like London United, they're gonna have to rely a lot on this, honestly, on this Lux pick to carry them through in those team fights. You know, try and catch Ryland or Joppa rather, with a binding, full-blown 100-0, and kind of just pray that Icy Gale eventually gets to the point where Lundorf cannot hold him on the side lane. And Lundorf actually going for the Triforce build, which, you know, this is the patch where Triforce has been a little bit nerfed. Oh, loses out on that barrel. He really wants Icy Gale here.
Next one, though, wants to put as much damage to Ice Gale as possible. The ultimate will be used to dissuade any further fighting, as Ice Gale will be able to move back, but Lundorf really running that lane at the moment, which is something that we expected to happen. And with the Mythic into no Mythic just yet, Ice Gale's going to reset, so might be able to pick it up. Things are looking pretty juicy, but Dunlossie will be there to defend.
Yeah, and Stridebreaker actually the pickup for Icy Gale on this Fiora. Certainly understand the logic behind it, so I'm not going to question it. Also gets the Ninja Tabbies as well. And I will continue to call them Ninja Tabbies until, well, I'm stuck in 2016, so leave me alone. It just feels wrong. Plated steel caps, you know.
But I mean, it makes so much more sense.
Yeah, of course. But also Ninja Tabbies. You know what? I'm putting a request in. I don't know if we. I don't know if I have that for this.
I don't know if we had that much clout. I don't know.
No. Putting in a bit of a request here. I don't know if on the in the chat we can get a poll up. What do you call those? What do you call the armor boost? Do you call them plated steel caps or do you call them tabbies now? Yeah, I'm not sure if we can get a poll up on Twitch chat. I'd love to know what the.
I don't know if we've got.
Yeah,
I don't know if we've got control.
We will have a couple minutes delay for it, but will I sit here patiently for the results of that poll? Absolutely. Icy Gale picks up that topside tower, and London United they are going to pick up this Herald, so this could be good use for trying to build up some kind of tempo somewhere. But the issue is, this is so close to the dragon spawn that because they've got their numbers and their vision committed to the top side, walking into this next dragon is going to feel absolutely horrid. First item picked up across the board for Nativz, and some components on a couple of members. Nativz have full control of this dragon on its spawn up, and they should be able to take it down. I'm not going to say uncontested or for free, because London United could still walk in, but they're going to be the ones with a much stronger setup on this objective. They will drop the Herald for a little bit of disruption on the setup potentially, but Yop can always enter, and KZ's in trouble.
Ooh, dives away though. Won't be caught out by the Death Centers, but Clocks is in a little bit of a position. Actually, not as bad as Snill, who has to take the Lantern out. Caught up by Yoichi though. The ultimate flashed away from, as Nativz diving away from the abilities thrown thick and fast. London United also need to be careful on the crackback though, because Nativz have some abilities of their own. Not going to be able to secure too much, and London United move back into the mid lane. But Dragon is on the menu. It will be a Mountain Soul this time around, and Nativz setting themselves up for Soul Point very early on in this game.
Yeah, and that's going to feel really, really bad. KZ's going to be a little whiles away from having loads of penetration. Icy Gale's not going to care too much. This Dragon probably works on the Soul more for Dunlosi than it does against him. Poor Trundle. And it's certainly going to hurt the build of Yoichi as well. When you think about Lux going for that full pen build, you don't want to have to deal with many resistances at all. Looks like it will be Shadow Flame second, with that Hextech on there in the inventory. And I just feel Nativz, again, only 2,000 gold up, but the actual state of the game, it's not particularly pleasant for the side of London United, and actually seems like Icy Gale is going to go for that Tiamat before a whole breaker, just for a little bit of wave clear. Could, of course, also just finish out the entire item. Doesn't have any sustain in the build right now. Just could go for a Ravenous Hydra instead. Could also just lean on the healing from the Vials and Grasp, but it's not really too much when you compare it to the likes of, obviously, the Omnivamp that Ravenous Hydra gives you. So we'll see whether or not he upgrades it or goes into a different item. As for now, Nativz, this is the thing with this team composition. They can now sit here for the next 10, almost 15 minutes. And they're still going to be ahead of London United. And the way that the comps work, they can just sit here and wait for London United to try and come into them. If they ever try and start up an objective, I mean, Cannon Barrage, Shockwave, which Yoichi will flash away from. Thank you, Ron, for giving me a pretty prime example of why you never want to be near Orianable.
Looks like London United are just hanging around the bottom side, want to pick up one of those bounties, as KZ takes a lot of damage, flashing away from Yoppa's ultimate. But the mid lane tower was maybe the target all along. Nativz should be able to secure this one. Still has to get a kill onto Yoichi, and now Lundorf moving in on towards KZ will be able to secure the kill himself, but should go down to Dunlossi's bite and the tower. Yoppa on his own now needs to be careful, going to get caught up, dodging away from the anchor. The dredge line not securing anything this time around. Yoppa continues his tirade on that mid-wave, takes it down and moves back with Clocks in tow. But a couple of kills going the way of Nativz. They'll lose one in return, but they do take down the mid lane tower.
Yeah, they get the mid lane tower. That's the important thing. Lundorf gets his one free int play of the game. Just looking for that 0-3 Jinx with his flash, no problem. Very flashy, actually, play. Going for the Q flash, third barrel chain, as the response should just be London United picking up this mid lane tier 1. With that bounty on top of it, it's going to feel quite nice. Going to drag the gold back over a little bit. As replay comes in, this is the top side. Snillate, landed in, Clocks. Eats a lot of damage, but fortunately, once the rotation of spells comes out from Lux, you've got to wait a good 5-6 seconds. Probably longer at this stage of the game, actually. And cannot trade out that kill in the top side of the map, unfortunately. Now we sit 2 minutes away from Dragon, where look over at the inventories of Nativz. They're approaching their second items quite quickly. Joppa already has that Bloodthirster. Stopwatch also in the inventory for Rao. So I always kind of say Stopwatch, it obviously in raw status, not Azonia's, but it feels it's almost it's as good, right? At the end of the day, you need the active at least once, especially if we're talking about, you know, potential soul fight. Just having it there and ready is pretty much as good as having the full item itself. And just in general right now, whilst the items, of course, being matched 1-to-1, in most areas, again, the London United team comp, it's not necessarily meant for team fighting the same way that Nativz is. If they can't get control of the objective, they're not in front of the objective before Nativz, things just feel really bad. And even if they are in front of the objective before Nativz, it's very easy for Nativz to use their zoning tools to force them off of the dragon and then regain control of that area and then force London back into them. So London United is going to have to start coming from picks very soon. Create pockets of fog, use this Lux pick, use the Nautilus, try and burst people who are making, you know, very short and shortcut type rotations. Even if it's over the wall like this, I mean, Clocks actually takes a fair amount of damage from that E alone. Mid lane vision being contested. Maybe they look for a fight here. Lundorf does a good job of zoning off. Divinus on the bottom side, and now this is the only scary part for Nativz, right? Trying to enter the river here, but if they go uncontested through this choke, it really doesn't matter too much. But if they can make it through, if they can't make it through, if they try and hold on to this choke very important for London United right now to keep Ryle and Snille split apart, but it looks like they're finally gonna have to give it up. Yoppa's through, it's just Lundorf and Clocks waiting now. And as soon as that E expires, they will walk through. No longer that choke control is in favor of London United. They have the Lux, they can get Dunlosi in the pit. That's the only worry right now for Nativz, but it looks like they don't even want to go for the 50-50 London United. Nativz ain't even trying to...
Let's get on the side, though. Could be looking for something on the flank, but London United look towards the engage. We'll find it onto Zinzao, using the ultimate immediately just to keep himself healthy. Takes a lot of damage. The Luxol does next to nothing, as London United are now going to be the ones who are turned on. Still needs to be careful, but so much damage goes into Divinus. He's forced to flash away. Clocks needs to be careful. Does manage to survive until the first kill goes down, but then he will fall on the side. Divinus is deleted. Yochi is deleted. KZ is deleted. Icy Gale on the side, on the flank, survives. But he can't say the same for the rest of his team as Nativz secure Dragon Soul. Yeah, they secure Dragon Soul. They'll probably go up towards that Baron and pick it up as well. It just felt like a bit of an inevitability, unfortunately, for London United. Compositionally, Nativz are just stronger in these kind of situations, and they are already stronger inside of the game as well. Now Nativz, they will pick this one up for relatively free. Icy Gale very cheekily stealing away this red buff, but that's about all he'll get. In most cases, should just take the reset after the Krugs. Might actually get spotted out by the sweeper. No, okay. Clocks held the bottom side of the wall, so they won't know where that Fiora is. But at the end of the day, it's not too much of a big deal. Icegale getting a couple of jungle camps, but Baron on 5 for Nativz. They're in a dominant gold lead right now. It doesn't look like there's much that London United can do, because that last team fight was so one-sided for Nativz. They lost one member, and that was really it. Question for me, as always, Jamada, they've got themselves Baron buff. They haven't taken that much real estate just yet. There's a lot of towers still standing. Could we see Nativz break into the base with this one?
With this one, given how strong this comp is, I'd probably say yeah. They should be able to break into this one, assuming they can actually find a pick. They have a lot of strong core items up and available. I think if they can just rotate between the mid and the bottom lane for now, things might just open up for them naturally. They don't have a top wave to work with, so they're only playing between 2 waves right now, which is totally fine for a Baron buff. But I think in duration of this, I mean, time is, I'm not going to say running out, but they're already 90 seconds away from this buff expiring. And London United are doing a great job for now of holding on, but it will start to come under fire slowly but surely. As Icy Gale does have the support of his team. And again, it's just one of those things where with the Baron buff, you can't really defend, you know, lane to lane perfectly. You're going to lose out on chunks here. Icy Gale going to lose out on this tower. It should just be going down right here.
And that mid lane is a bit of a scrap, though. They've got out Snell, who needs to be careful, but he has got support from Yoppa on the side. But Yoppa's now the focus, has to go golden to dodge all of the damage. Divinus not tanky enough to survive on his way out. KZ has been the focus, as Dunlossi's now going to get shot to bits by Aphelios. Will survive and get away. Icegale on the side, also half health, needs to be careful. Nativz actually going to be restricted to 1 kill in that team fight, but since London United will want to engage it, that's not too bad as they take down the mid inner and move into the topside jungle.
Yeah, move into the topside jungle. They might not be able to crack open the base then with this Baron, but I mean, still growing further and further away the game is from London United. Resources taken away out of the jungle. 3 minutes until this Elder. 3.5 until the Baron. Nativz just playing this one out slowly. They recognize, okay, we don't necessarily have the greatest tools to force, but the enemy team doesn't really have the greatest means right now to hold on to the game either. As long as we don't throw, that's kind of the only thing. Nativz at this point, their own worst enemy. I think with the way the comps want to work into each other. London United, the only thing that they could have had going for them, but I think it might be a little bit too late now at this point. Just play for pockets of fog. Create places where Nativz just don't have any information, and just have Yoichi sitting in that fog, have Divina sitting in that fog. Wait for one of the Nativz members to have to eventually walk face check into it. Just blow them up with a combination. Turn the fight into a 4v5 before it's even begun. That's a massive shield from Drop. I think combination of Bloodthirster, maybe Overheal, and the Lantern. Lantern not even a part of that health bar anymore. And of course the Mountain Soul. How could I forget? And he has just finished up that Infinity Edge. So Dropper is going to feel pretty unkillable unless he gets caught in a binding. I know, Reed. I feel the pain of that cannon dying as well.
Devastation.
Anytime Reed hovers over a cannon minion in isolation like that, you know it's because it's dying and no one's getting it. Death Sentence. It's actually Icy Gale, but no follow-up will come through.
Elder Dragon in a minute 20. Is this somewhere that London United could look to flip?
It's the only place they can flip at this point. They have to flip it. If they don't, they're just going to lose the game slowly. I think, unfortunately, Nativz, the drafters just really, really won them this portion of the game. I think Execution won them the first half. Because Ice Gale, he can't play the side lane. Dunlosi just can't really find too much value in a game like this. Ice Gale.
Gale called out. He can't win the 1v1. Definitely can't win the 1v3. Gonna go golden. But his team's here in support and a couple of missed abilities from Clocks will cause Nativz to back away into the jungle once again. Couldn't find the pick that they wanted. But they got flashed away from the Fiora.
Do get the flash out of Fiora. That's the important part. And now she's not going to have flash to maybe find some kind of play in this Elder. Well, if it even turns into a fight at the Elder. And now 25 seconds. I mean, actually, Reed, if we could get her, we might not even have time. Toggle for the vision, actually, for London United, because what do they have to work with? They've got those 2 wards all the way back there. How long do they have left? Oh my god, Fiora's dead.
We did not have time. We did not have time.
We didn't have time. Oh no.
Abort.
And now this could just be a bottom side push.
Yeah,
where
London United need to try and get back towards the defend, but there's members harassing them from a Nativz, just following them on the side. You've got the Zinzao moving up towards the Elder Dragon, and Nativz have been called to join him. Yopper last one out, but will take the Lantern. And now London United, without their top laner, probably lose this Elder Dragon. But let's have a quick look at what we missed.
Was this all Jopper in the 1v1? It's looking like a yes.
There was an assist, so there's the shield. There you go.
Assist mine.
Another solo kill for Fresh. Simple as.
Yeah. Rocket from KZ, by the way, almost stole Dragon, so good attempt. But Elder in Rao's back pocket.
Baron will soon follow. You've got
it's like a foregone conclusion. It's hard to cast games like these. At this point, normally, actually, yeah. What are you having for dinner tonight, bro? What's
leftover pizza from my hour and a half takeaway ordeal. Obviously, I gotta get that
continuation from that story.
Continuation, yeah. You gotta get the value. You know. What about yourself? What's on the menu?
You know, I'm not entirely sure. Could be cooking. There is food, plenty of food in the house at the moment. But also, I wouldn't mind a takeaway. Just not sure which.
It's
just not
tempted,
sure which.
Isn't it?
Yeah. I think there's plenty of food in the house though. Egg fried rice was made earlier, so could be the move. Lundorf. We saw that missed one part. Everybody. As Nativz, by the way, pushing in the base, looking to end the game with this Elder and Baron buff. I mean, London, if they can hold on, sure, but I mean, if they have to go, they have to go right now.
There's the route onto Snill. The damage is there. They have pulled the trigger, but the damage coming out. Remember, there is Elder Dragon's Ice Scale. Will get executed, but gets resurrected. The shutdown on to Lundorf. Nativz could have been chased away. It's a 4v5 because Fiora gets back up and keeps on fighting. But remember, there are Baron empowered minions. The first Nexus Tower will go down as still looks for the engage. Dives back out with the Lantern as they look towards the second Nexus Tower. Will be able to grab Ice Gale marauding forward. Wants to get some work done.
Yopper.
As Clocks goes low. Snil on the side. Yopper looks to burn through. Will pick up one. As Dunlossie dives away. Members have been falling across the base for London United. As Raal helps get the kill with the minions as the Nexus is laid bare. Zinzao caught on the fountain steps but doesn't start taking the laser and instead turns and takes the Nexus. 30 minutes into this one, Nativz secure themselves a win, keep themselves within a hair's breadth of Munster. London United still 2-7 at the bottom of the table.
Yeah, 2-7. Unfortunately, London United, their chances of making it to playoffs slipping away from them more and more. As yeah, I mean, business as usual for Nativz here in this one. It just felt like start to finish. As soon as they weren't falling behind in the early game of that draft plays itself. I think, unfortunately, London United, they maybe didn't understand, the win conditions that they could have found in the mid game, which, as stated inside of that cast, you just have to play vision. You have to play these dark pockets of fog where Nativz, they have to face check into it, even if it's the thresh, right? Just removing the thresh rate, that's the safety net for the immobile carries of Nativz. Just do something like that. But it just felt like they were never setting up for brushes. They're never setting up for long range hooks or bindings, unfortunately. And they just kind of sat there and unfortunately let themselves get rolled over by this Nativz comp, which was always going to out team fight them after about 25 minutes.
And a couple of team fights was all it took. We're going to jump to a short break. Where we come back, it's interviews with both teams, so don't go anywhere. We'll see you in a few.